The stench hit me first, a sickly sweet perfume, cloying and thick, that clung to the crisp morning air like a shroud. It wasn't uncommon in Anchorage this time of year. The city, nestled amidst the unforgiving Alaskan wilderness, had its own rhythm of decay. Winter's grip, just recently loosened, revealed the secrets it had held beneath layers of snow, secrets that often smelled far worse than death itself. But this was different. This stench wasn't the earthy tang of decomposing leaves or the metallic bite of discarded fish. It was something altogether more human. It wrapped around me, coiling in my throat, as I pushed past the creaking iron gate and onto the overgrown path. My name is Evelyn Thorne, and I was on a path I never thought I'd tread again. 10 years ago, I walked away from this place, a shattered girl with nothing left to lose. Now I was back, drawn by a telegram that crackled with a single, horrifying sentence. "She's gone. Come home, Evelyn." She referred to my younger sister, Lily. My beautiful, headstrong Lily, who had vanished without a trace just a month after my own escape. The police had called it a runaway case, a tragedy fueled by teenage rebellion. But I knew better. There was something darker at play, something rooted in the secrets that festered in this very house. The house itself was a study in neglect. The once grand Victorian mansion, a local landmark in its prime, now loomed like a skeletal giant against the backdrop of snow-capped mountains. Paint peeled from its weathered boards, and the windows, vacant and dusty, stared back at me like empty eyes. The front door hung open, its hinges groaning in protest. I took a deep breath, the stench intensifying as I crossed the threshold. Dust motes danced in a shaft of sunlight that speared through a broken skylight. The air inside was thick and stale, heavy with the scent of neglect and something else, something far more sinister. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs as I navigated the cavernous hall. The grand staircase, once a focal point of the house, now creaked ominously under my hesitant steps. Each floorboard I stepped on seemed to groan in protest, as if the house itself was reluctant to reveal its secrets. The source of the stench finally came into view as I reached the landing. A heavy oak door, slightly ajar, emanated an aura of putrefaction. My stomach lurched, but I knew I couldn't turn back. With a trembling hand, I pushed the door open, the sound like a scream echoing in the silent house. The room beyond was a nursery, its walls plastered with faded Winnie the Pooh wallpaper. A rocking horse stood frozen mid-gallop in the center, its once vibrant paint dulled by time. But the focal point of the room wasn't the dusty toys, but the crib in the corner. Lily lay there, her once vibrant face now pallid and gaunt. Her eyes were closed, her lips a faint blue. But it wasn't the pallor of death that chilled me to the bone. It was the two jagged protrusions that erupted from her temples, pushing through her auburn hair. Horns, dark and menacing, that curled back like a ram's. A choked sob escaped my lips. This wasn't right. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. But as I sank to my knees beside my sister's lifeless body, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A faint tremor ran through Lily's hand, and for a horrifying moment, I thought. The tremor subsided, leaving Lily still. Tears streamed down my face as I cradled her cold hand in mine. My grief, so long suppressed, threatened to consume me. But amidst the crushing sorrow, a single, chilling question echoed in my mind. Did the horns come before the death, or did the death bring forth the horns? The chill radiating from Lily's body seeped into my bones, a stark contrast to the feverish heat that had begun to rise within me. Denial warred with a chilling realization. Lily wasn't just dead. Something else had happened, something that defied any explanation I could grasp. With a trembling hand, I reached out and touched one of the horns. It felt surprisingly cold, smooth beneath my fingertips, yet undeniably real. A primal fear threatened to paralyze me, but the flicker of movement I'd seen earlier fueled a morbid curiosity. Hesitantly, I pressed my ear against Lily's chest. My breath hitched. A faint, erratic heartbeat thrummed beneath my ear, a counterpoint to the chilling stillness of the room. Lily was Alive? But how? And what did the horn signify? Tears blurring my vision, I scanned the room, desperate for any clue. My gaze landed on a dusty, leather-bound journal lying open on the changing table. Lily's flowing script adorned the yellowed pages, words that sent a jolt of ice through me. "They found me," the diary began, the ink spidery and hurried. "They know about the whispers in the wind, the dreams that feel too real. They want to silence me, to control it." The next entry was dated a week later. "They took him. They said it was an accident, a fall, but I know better. He wouldn't have fallen." The pronoun hung heavy in the air, a silent accusation. My mind raced. Who was him? Where had they taken him? Panic threatened to consume me. I needed answers, but where to begin? With a heavy heart, I tucked the diary into my pocket and rose to my feet. My eyes lingered on Lily's unmoving form, the horns glinting faintly in the dim light. A sudden creak on the floorboards above sent a jolt of fear through me. Someone was here. Instinct took over and I scrambled towards the window, adrenaline surging through my veins. The rusty latch fought against my frantic efforts, but with a final desperate heave, I managed to wrench it open. The unforgiving Alaskan wind slapped me in the face, but it was a welcome shock compared to the claustrophobic terror gripping the house. I clambered onto the window ledge, the sheer drop to the ground making my head spin. Below, a thick layer of snow cushioned the fall, the only chance I had. Taking a deep breath, I plunged out of the window. The impact knocked the breath out of my lungs, but the snow did its job. I scrambled to my feet, the throbbing pain in my ankle a distant echo compared to the fear gnawing at me. I had to get out of here. I had to find whoever took him and find out what they knew about the horns, about what was happening to Lily. But where to go? The isolation of the house, once a haven, now felt like a prison. My thoughts settled on Mr. Henderson, the kind old man who lived a few miles down the road. He had always been a guardian angel to Lily and me, a confidant when the weight of the house became too much to bear. He was my only hope. With a deep breath, I set off her through the snow, the image of Lily's pale face and the menacing horns seared into my mind. The setting sun cast long shadows across the desolate landscape, and every rustle of leaves in the wind sent shivers down my spine. But amidst the fear, a flicker of determination burned. I wouldn't let the darkness consume Lily or me. I would find answers, no matter the cost. The journey ahead would be fraught with danger, but the love for my sister was a fire that wouldn't be extinguished. As I reached Mr. Henderson's doorstep, the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, plunging the world into an inky blackness. A single question echoed in the silence, a question that would guide my steps. What was the connection between the horns and the darkness that had taken root in the house and now threatened to engulf my sister? Mr. Henderson answered my frantic banging with a look of concern etched on his weathered face. Relief washed over me, momentarily erasing the chilling image of Lily. He ushered me inside, the warm glow of the fireplace a beacon of comfort in the encroaching darkness. As I recounted the horrific scene in the nursery, my words tumbled over each other, punctuated by gasps and choked sobs. Mr. Henderson listened patiently, a flicker of recognition crossing his face when I mentioned the horns. "The whispers," he muttered, his voice barely a whisper itself. "They speak of a curse, an ancient power passed down through generations in your family." He explained the Thorne family history, a lineage shrouded in whispers of witchcraft and dark pacts. Apparently Lily, with her fiery spirit and uncanny connection to nature, was the latest descendant to manifest the power. The horns, he said, were a physical manifestation of that power, a double-edged sword offering protection, but also attracting malevolent forces. "The darkness you felt in the house," Mr. Henderson continued, "it feeds on the power. It wants to control Lily, to use her for its own purposes." The mention of him hung in the air. Mr. Henderson confirmed my suspicions. Lily's boyfriend, Thomas, had been taken by a group who feared her newfound abilities. They believed, like the darkness in the house, that the power needed to be contained, controlled. A desperate plan formed in my mind. We had to rescue Thomas, to understand the true nature of the power and learn how to control it. Mr. Henderson, with his knowledge of local lore and hidden paths, would be my guide. The journey was fraught with danger. The whispers Mr. Henderson spoke of seemed to intensify with each passing mile. Shadows danced at the edge of our vision, and disembodied voices echoed through the wind. But fueled by the need to save Lily, we pressed on. Finally, after days of relentless travel, we reached an abandoned cabin nestled deep within the Alaskan wilderness. It reeked of the same cloying sweetness as the room in the house, a telltale sign of the darkness's presence. The sounds of struggle and muffled voices emanated from within. With a determined glint in his eye, Mr. Henderson fashioned makeshift weapons from what we could find, his weathered hands surprisingly steady. We burst into the cabin, the sight that greeted us sending a fresh wave of terror through me. Several cloaked figures surrounded Thomas, their faces hidden in the shadows. A cold energy crackled in the air, a tangible manifestation of the darkness they wielded. The ensuing battle was a blur of adrenaline and fear. Mr. Henderson fought with the ferocity of a cornered bear, while I channeled the anger and grief simmering within me. My touch, imbued with a newfound energy, seemed to repel the figures, their cries turning into shrieks of frustration. The fight culminated in a tense standoff. We had managed to subdue most of the figures, but their leader, a gaunt man with eyes that glowed an unnatural red, remained. He held a gleaming silver dagger inches from Thomas's throat. "Let her go," I snarled, stepping forward. "The power is mine to control, not yours." The leader's lips curled into a cruel smile. "The power chooses its wielder, girl," he hissed, "and it does not favor the weak." But before he could react further, a surge of energy coursed through me. My vision blurred, and a tingling sensation spread throughout my body. When my vision cleared, I was staring at two gleaming ivory horns protruding from my own temples. A primal roar erupted from my throat, a sound that shook the very foundations of the cabin. The leader recoiled in fear, his grip on Thomas loosening. With superhuman speed, I disarmed him and sent him flying across the room. The remaining figures, cowed by the display of power, scurried away, disappearing into the darkness from whence they came. We had won, but at a terrible cost. I had become the very thing I feared. The journey back was quieter. Mr. Henderson looked at me with a mixture of awe and apprehension. As for me, I grappled with the weight of the horns, the constant reminder of the darkness within. Upon reaching the house, we rushed to Lily's room. She lay in the same position, the faint rise and fall of her chest the only indication of life. But upon placing my hand on hers, I felt a connection, a shared energy. Together, Lily and I began to learn to control the power. It was a long and arduous process, filled with missteps and frightening visions. But slowly we learned to harness the energy, turning it from a weapon to a shield. The house itself seemed to respond to the shift in power. The oppressive darkness receded, replaced by a gentle hum that resonated with the energy flowing between Lily and me. We became guardians, protectors of the land and each other. Years passed. The whispers in the wind became a language we understood, a way to connect with the natural world around us. The horns became a symbol, not of darkness, but of a fierce, unwavering love that defied the shadows. One crisp autumn day, Mr. Henderson, now a frail but wise old man, sat with us on the porch, the house bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. He smiled, his eyes twinkling with pride. "You've come a long way, girls," he rasped. "You turned the curse into a blessing, your bond stronger than any darkness." Lily, her auburn hair now streaked with silver, leaned against me, the warmth of her touch a comforting presence. Her eyes, once filled with fear, now held a serene wisdom. "We are not alone," she whispered, her voice infused with the same energy that resonated in the house. "We are part of something bigger, something ancient and powerful." And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the valley, I knew she was right. The horns, a symbol of darkness, had become an anchor, a reminder that even in the face of fear, the strongest magic lies in love and sisterhood. The darkness might always lurk at the edges, but together we would face it, forever bound by the horns and the unwavering love that bloomed amidst the shadows.